It's been really, really lovely. I do feel they could have made me work a little bit harder. And I felt when they're treating you so well, you feel terribly guilty not doing enough. So I would have done more schools next. But it's really nice. And it is an interesting mix of writers. And there are writers that I wouldn't usually get to meet, because a lot of what I tend to do, because I write a lot of crime fiction, I'll often be surrounded by mystery writers. And so I don't necessarily get to sit with Icelandic poets or, people who've recreated Peter Pan, or last night at dinner, someone who'd written a book about Tarkovsky and somebody who'd written a book about Afghanistan. Suddenly you're getting all of these other influences. And writers are odd people. We spend a lot of time sitting in rooms by ourselves. And some of us should just be left in those rooms and not meet people at all, because we shouldn't be allowed to play with other children. But most of us like interacting. And so to come to a festival like this where you meet lovely readers and meet kind of interesting writers, you come back from it it's not just a free holiday, you come back kind of broadened by the experience. It gives you a slightly different view on the world. Well, that was always, the other thing, sometimes at these things, sessions can get a bit wordy. And I think we're always conscious of the fact that it's quite nice to throw in one where you're just kind of joking for an hour. And, literature doesn't always have to be very serious discussions, because no more than every time we pick up a book, we expect it to weigh 3 tons and have 1,800 pages. Sometimes it's nice just to be entertained. Oh, I'd love to come back here again. Yeah, I think it would be, and I'd love to see a different mix of writers. To suddenly come back and encounter a whole range of people that I've never met before. No, the curious thing was, Dubai was much quirkier than I expected it to be. I suppose from Europe, it seems we tend to look upon the Middle East as one kind of big amorphous mass, and Dubai is such an interesting, curious city that I'd love to come back and see more of it. That's my only regret. I didn't really have time to see very much of it, and I would like to be able to just wander off and explore it a bit more. So maybe if they have me back in a few years, it would be lovely to do that. This year is a year of experiments. I didn't write any books to contract. I wrote the last of a little series of children's books I've done called The Creeps, which will come out this year. I collaborated with my other half, my partner Jenny. We wrote a book together because I wanted to write a science fiction novel for kind of aimed more or less at older teenage girls. I wanted to explore something completely different. And so that will probably come out this year. And I've written a book about a First World War veteran being haunted by monsters. And I would think for writers, I go to the gym occasionally, not as much as I should. And if you just exercise one set of muscles, the other muscles atrophy and that muscle gets tired, you alternate. And I think it's good for writers to step out of their comfort zone, and not just write the thing you can do and that's got to sell books and pay your mortgage. It's good to take chances, because writers should always be learning. In the same way readers, you should always be challenging yourself as a reader a little bit. Writers should always be taking chances too. I don't give workshops, and because I'm not sure how I write, but I only know two things for certain. The first is that every time I start a book, I get about 30,000 words into it and want to throw it away. I completely lose faith in it, somewhere between 10 and 30,000 words, and I think that's very common for writers. But people who haven't written a book before sometimes think, I must have made a mistake and this isn't the book to write, and they'll leave it unfinished and they'll start something else, because as soon as you start writing a book, you get this siren call of the new idea. You'll think, actually, this new idea I have is much better than the old one, That's never the case. Writers finish books. Painters finish paintings, poets finish writing poems. If you leave it unfinished, you'll learn nothing from it. So if you start something, you have to finish it. That's all I know.